So we've looked at the simple tenses. And now let's take a look into the first of the special aspects that it's possible to combine with tenses in English. So we have what is called the perfect aspect. Okay, so this is the word perfect. When you think of the word perfect, think of this idea of having no flaws whatsoever, being like this absolutely mistake-free condition. But that's a much more recent version of this word. Originally, this word from Latin means to be done through, literally means done through, which is a way of saying complete. So really the essence of the word perfect is to be complete. And I like this definition to apply to, we often have tendency to become overly concerned about perfection and doing things with absolutely no errors and having no flaws. But that's really not necessary. If you do something that is basically done through, everything that needs to be done is completed, that can be considered perfect. Doesn't need to have absolutely zero flaws in order to be perfect, at least in this earlier sense of the word. So the idea of the perfect aspect is the idea of something being done and being complete. And so that's the idea of aspect. Aspect is the time structure, or you could say, or time perspective of the verb. Now, just like tense, tense is describing, tense is a bit easier to understand because it's saying, well, is it happening now? Did it happen before? Future? But with the aspect, it's more like, how are you looking at this event or state? Now, with the simple form, it's like, okay, here it is. This event is happening now. This event happened before, or this state was a state before. This state will happen. This event will happen. The most simple way. But everything in the perfect aspect, or sometimes called the perfective aspect, everything in this aspect is focusing on this thing being completed. So this really changes the whole perspective on how we are talking about the same event. Okay, so we could say here, we could say the present perfect. And yeah, it's usually said in this order, even though I guess it would make sense to say the perfect present, but often you'll see this form, the combination of the present tense with the perfect aspect is usually called present perfect. So the present perfect combines the helping verb have. So you can see, I have known, I have loved, I have gone, I have walked. So you see here, you add have. And so you can imagine the idea of having the word have there. It's like when you complete a verb, it's like you have it. You have the result. And that's what the perfect is all about. Perfect focuses on the result. See, because it focuses on the idea that this verb is complete. It is focusing on the outcome of the verb rather than focusing on the fact that the verb has happened. So this is one of the trickiest distinctions because in many ways this present perfect, even though it's technically in the present tense, it often has a very similar meaning to the past tense because it's referring to something that's complete. Anything that's complete, there's of course some sense that something happened in the past in order to make it complete now. So it's often quite difficult to decide whether it would make more sense to speak in the simple past or whether to speak in the present perfect, and they often are quite similar. And I think the use of the present perfect, to use this really well, is really it's really a marker of advanced English knowledge and English ability. If you can use this well and bring it out in the right times and places, this is something that really shows an advanced level of English ability. Because really, for basic, simple statements, in some ways it's not that different from the past. So when you're at the earlier levels of learning English, you can really focus on just past, present, and future. Stick with the simple tenses. And then this is like a more advanced form. So, but it conveys a subtlety of meaning. There's like a different angle or perspective on how you are describing an event. And this is one of the little subtleties that I think is very powerful in English. Every language has these little points where you can just change the perspective on what you're talking about in a subtle way. So the difference that we can see is, you could think, like a good example to imagine the difference between the simple past and present perfect. You could say, I went to Europe. Or you could say, present perfect, I have been to Europe. Now, let's pick somewhere a little bit more far-flung. Let's say I went to the Arctic. All right, so I have now. So here we have the verb go. The verb is go here. So we have simple past, went, versus the present perfect. We combine have with this form been to get I have been. What's the difference? In both of these cases, you're describing somebody, yourself, who at some point in the past went to the Arctic. But the difference is that with the simple past, you are saying this is just a statement of something that happened in the past. You are speaking about the past. And you're saying at some point in the past, I went there. But with the present perfect, you are, even though clearly the event happened in the past, you are saying something about the present. You are saying what you have. You have the result of this past event or state. You have been there. You're saying, it's like you're saying that I am somebody now who in the past has been there. The difference appears very subtle. But you can see that the difference is, are you speaking about the past? Is the important thing that you want to communicate that at some point in the past, you had this event, this thing happened in the past. So you're telling a story. Last year, I went to the Arctic. I had a great time. Or I went to the Arctic and I nearly froze to death and barely survived. Whatever story you want to tell about something that happened. And it's just a story about the past. But when you speak in the present perfect, it's like you're saying I have been. It's like you're saying I'm a person who has had this experience. Have you been there? Are you a person who has had this experience? Or have you been to the Arctic? I have been there. Yes, I am a person who has this experience. So I think it can be helpful to think about the origin that this word have, that we use the word have with the present perfect. It's like saying you have the result. It's like saying now I have the result of what has happened in the past. And this distinction, I would say, really can, if you really want to show off advanced English skills, to really bring this in at the right time, it really sends a clear message of the type of statement that you want to make. Of course, for a native English speaker, this would kind of be automatic, but And you wouldn't even normally even realize that you're making this distinction. It just feels natural to speak one way or the other. But there is a real difference in the message from something that from a simple point of view is a very similar statement. Something happened in the past. And yet, are you speaking about something that happened in the past, or are you speaking about the result of something now? The result now of something that happened in the past. So I'd say this is one of the trickiest distinctions to learn with the English tenses and aspects.